All right, I'm going to go ahead and call our 6 o'clock meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. Ms. Sheldon, will you call the roll for us?
Mayor Holly Berry.
Here.
Vice Mayor Stephanie Dalton.
Here.
Commissioner Jamie Fairbanks.
Here.
Commissioner Pete Phillips.
Present.
Commissioner Hayes Wilkinson.
Here.
For today's invocation, please join me in a moment of silence to reverently collect our thoughts, pray, and ready ourselves for this meeting and the duties to which we have been called. Thank you. Mr. Granum, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda is consideration of the minutes for approval or correction for our August 6, 2024 work session. Any corrections? If not, do I have a motion to approve as written?
I'll move.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Dalton and a second from Commissioner Phillips. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, the minutes for our August 6, 2024 commission meeting. Any corrections? I have a motion to approve as written.
I'll move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner Wilkinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is my mayor's report. My family enjoyed the community movie night last Friday. Thank you to our parks manager, Jeffrey Gravy, for organizing that. Please mark your calendars for our next mini farmers market next Saturday, August 31st from 9 a.m. to noon at the Red Bank City Park. Next Wednesday, August 28th, Green Spaces will be hosting their monthly networking event called Green Drinks here in Red Bank at the Gear Closet, a funding arm of Waterways. Sip and shop for gently used outdoor equipment where all the proceeds benefit Waterways, who help clean our lakes, rivers, and streams, particularly our very own Stringers Branch. And I'll move on to our report from Vice Mayor Dalton.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, everyone. I recently received a scholarship to attend the local government leadership program in Knoxville. It was a 2.5-day program, and I graduated on August 8th. I just want to say thank you to the NAFI Center for Effective Leadership, which is part of the Institute of Public Service at UTK, for this incredible opportunity. I was joined by fellow elected and municipal and county government officials from across the state. It was a simultaneously humbling and empowering experience to learn from my peers about how I can be a more effective leader and how we can work together to make real change that improves the lives of our neighbors. Thank you to my colleagues and our wonderful community members for coming out last weekend to celebrate the grand opening of the Alpine Crest Arboretum. They are now officially a Tennessee Urban Forestry Council certified Class 1 Arboretum, the first ever in Red Bank city limits and the first ever in Hamilton County School System. I have a couple of long thank yous, so bear with me. But first, I want to say thank you to our Public Works Department for hosting me on a ride-along day last week. I got to ride with Carlisle and the One-Armed Bandit. Check in on citywide projects with Supervisor Ricky Reeves, learn more about public works processes with Supervisor JB Allen, and experience the excitement of sweeping our streets in our street sweeper with Derek and Davis. It was very hot outside that day, and all I could think was, wow, I bet it would be a lot cooler to do some of that manual labor work in shorts. But seriously, the work that our public works team does to keep our city clean, in good repair, functional, and safe is tremendous. And it can also be very hot and uncomfortable work. So please offer them a cool drink or cool treat the next time you see them out in the community. And I want to say thank you also to our police department for hosting me on a ride along today. I got to learn about a lot of the behind the scenes work that our awesome team of admin staff, chiefs, and detectives do that the public never sees, including me. from background checks to evidence processing to grant writing to internal audits of police reports. Everything they do with the public safety and security in mind. They even let me test out a taser, but smartly stood back for their own safety. My favorite part of the day, though, was riding along with Sergeant Jason Cowan throughout the city. What you don't see as you're driving by a police car and probably hoping that you're not speeding is that our officers have to constantly be alert. While they're driving, they'll get a call for police response while also monitoring oncoming vehicle speed, while also getting a phone call requesting assistance, while also making sure to report on all the stops they make, and the list goes on. After having done ride-alongs now with our fire, police, and public works departments, I can say from personal experience that without a doubt, we have the absolute best city staff that anyone could hope for. And I am grateful to serve alongside every single one of you here in Red Bank. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Next, we have our report from Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey.
Thank you. Those ride-alongs are fun. I did mine at night with the police. Yeah,
Interesting.
but they work. So
Mhm.
it's a fabulous experience.
Mhm.
Good for you. From the Hamilton County Election Commission website, you will learn about November 5th election. Register to vote, register to work as a precinct worker or absentee voting, early voting dates, and candidates running for office. The last day to request an absentee ballot will be Tuesday, October 29th. Early voting period for that election is Wednesday, October 16th to Thursday, October 31st. To cast your vote on that day, early, absentee, whatever it takes, but register to vote. For Red Bank, there is an election for 2 commission seats with 4 candidates vying for those 2 seats. There are also state races as well as presidential election. Be informed, be active, and cast your vote. I also celebrated the Arboretum recognition at Alpine Crest, where I went to elementary school and have a great niece there presently. That was last Saturday. Thank you for the energy and effort to create an expanded campus with education and beauty that's shared. Thank you to Randy, Kathy, and Dawn as master gardeners who put that forward. Red Bank Lions football season begins this Friday. The next 2 Fridays, home games. The first one against Tyner Academy, and then on the 30th of August, Ray County, which is the neighbor just north. Each game starts at 7 p.m. over the hill. Red Bank Middle will play Thursday, August 29th at East Hamilton Middle. Next Listen and Learn will be September 16th, 2024 at Sabor from 6 to 7. Last night, Director Johnson, Community Development Director Johnson came, and we could go for 2 hours. She's captivating. And there are so many questions. It was a very good turnout. Most of the time I know she's coming. I don't want to sidetrack her, but she is just wealth and so kind and so giving and understanding. I really appreciate it. And so do the residents who are there. They deeply do. So come one, come all. The next one will be September, then ours October, not in November and December. Okay, thank you.
Next, we have our report from Commissioner Phillips.
Thank you for all for coming today. And also, congratulations to our artist for the oh gosh, what are they called? The
Utility
traffic
box.
light boxes, the utility boxes. And congratulations there. I like art. So thank you. And then also for all of our volunteers, for all of our citizen advisors. And this takes so much weight off of staff and the commission that, many hands lighten the load. So we want to thank y'all. And that really concludes my report. Thank you.
And finally, our report from Commissioner Wilkinson.
Okay, I've got a few things. Recently, I was able to meet Dr. Allison Damick and grad student Lori Robbins from UTK, who came down to do our the ground penetrating radar survey at the Red Bank Cemetery. For those of you guys that don't know, we approved that last meeting, and they were out there like the next day. It's like they coordinated. But that will be a really cool project where we can identify graves and burial locations in the cemetery that may not be marked. But it's a cool piece of science, and I'm excited to see the results. Next, happy birthday to the White Oak Bicycle Co-op. They recently celebrated their 4th anniversary at Clever Ale House over the weekend. For those of you guys that don't know, they're an amazing nonprofit based out of Red Bank where they take in bikes from the community for kids or for people who are in need of transportation. They'll fix them up and put them back into the community for people who need them. So we are lucky to have them locally here. You can support the Red Bank High School Marching Band by buying a 24-pack of water at Walgreens until Sunday. You can buy it, they'll keep it there, and it gets donated to the marching band. Excuse me. And Red Bank Middle School is having a pencil war. You can donate pencils to the front office for the kids. I don't know when that ends, but you can take some pencils by. They'll be appreciative. Maybe the HB number 2 for some Scantron test.
All right, and next we have our report from our city manager, Mr. Martin Granum.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, I placed at your desk two things I wanted to call your attention to. The first one's a bit of an odd thing. It's a postcard that was mailed to me, and you have a copy. It's mailed to me as city manager, and I just wanted to make you all aware that the Northside Neighborhood House is celebrating the retirement of Rachel Gammon and also welcoming her successor. And her name is Jessica Watley. And this will be the 5th of September from 5 to 6:30 down at the Chattanooga Theater. And you all are encouraged to RSVP as individuals. You would be most welcome, as would any member of the community. Go down there. Farewell, Rachel, and welcome, Jessica. I also placed on your dais an updated version of my favorite bubble chart, which recognizes the new Department of Community Development, and there's some other changes there, identifies all of our commission-appointed advisory boards, identifies our key partners down on the lower left. I just love this bubble chart, and I'm sharing it with you. This is a 7 PowerPoint slide presentation that covers our mission, vision, goals, identifies you as commissioners, celebrates our operating with a sound financial plan recognized by the comptroller, and invites people to subscribe to our newsletter and check out our Facebook page. So this is a good conversation starter for you as commissioners or us as staff, for anybody who's interested in a little bit of understanding of us in the city. And beyond that, I have one very short thing to say. A reminder that city offices will be closed Monday to September in observance of the Labor Day holiday. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Granum. All right, we have one item of unfinished business tonight. That's ordinance number 24-1263. An ordinance of the city of Red Bank, Tennessee, amending the zoning ordinance and maps of the city to rezone property located at 200 West Euclid Avenue from R1 residential to RTZ residential townhouse, 0 lot line, pursuant to certain conditions. Second and final reading. I welcome Director of Community Development Johnson to give us an overview, especially for anybody who wasn't at our previous first vote on this last meeting.
Correct. Thank you, Commission. The property owner of 200 West Euclid Avenue is requesting the parcel to be rezoned from R1 to RTZ with the intent to subdivide the parcel for construction of two new single-family homes. The parcel currently has one single-family home structure on it in which the property owner currently resides. The rezoning request was originally heard by the Planning Commission during their June 26th meeting, with the applicant being present. Also, 2 adjoining property owners were also present at that meeting and expressed no opposition to the rezoning request. Staff recommended in favor of the rezoning, the Planning Commission also in favor, but further added a proposed condition of detached single-family residential uses only. The property owner expressed no opposition to this added condition. The public hearing on the rezoning was held by this commission at their August 8th meeting, with the applicant again being present, with no public opposition to the rezoning was expressed. The ordinance was passed on first reading. So tonight, the rezoning ordinance is before you for its second and final reading, which does include the recommended proposed condition of detached single-family residential uses only.
Thank you, Director. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll move.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Dalton. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey. Any further discussion? Any comments from the residents present? Okay, if there are no more comments, then Ms. Sheldon, will you please call the vote for us?
Mayor Holly Berry,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stephanie Dalton,
Yes.
Commissioner Jamie Fairbanks Harvey,
Yes.
Commissioner Pete Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Hayes Wilkinson.
Yes.
Motion carries on second and final reading. Moving on to new business, we have resolution number 24-1719. A resolution to award a stipend to artists and to authorize the expenditure for the installation of selected public art on 4 traffic signal boxes located in Red Bank, utilizing non-budgeted general funds not to exceed $5,200, as recommended by the Red Bank Public Art Advisory Board. Director Johnson.
Thank you. During work session this evening, we did give a pretty in-depth presentation, a little bit of history on how the board was created, what their objectives are, and this being their first formal presentation to you, a resolution for authorization to see public art installed in Red Bank. As you mentioned, this initial project is not included in the budget this year, and nor is it supported with grant funding. However, if approved, it does establish a portfolio of success for the board to go after additional grant opportunities. In order to be competitive, they want to see that someone has some experience and they've had a successful application. To clarify back onto the total cost not to exceed $5,200, that does include $3,121 for installation, and we did receive 3 quotes. So this was the lowest and the best quote for us to present to you this evening. It also includes a maximum stipend award of $2,000, which is for each artist for $500. So we had 4 awarded artists with their design. So the request for you tonight is to authorize that resolution for a maximum of $5,200.
I'll add that when we created our citizen advisory boards, part of the goal was for those boards to then make recommendations to this board of potential budget expenditures that they think would benefit the city. And so we had a similar outlay of cost recommended by our cemetery advisory board just at our last meeting for the ground penetrating radar, which was not a budgeted item, but pretty minor expense in the scheme of the city budget to provide service to our city. And we are seeing now our public art advisory board function in the way it's intended to make a recommendation for an expenditure for the city for our benefit.
Sure. And if I could add, this does fall in line with one of your commission goals, and that is beautification of the city.
Absolutely.
Coming into these major intersections that are designated, especially for this first application, it's going to be pretty hard to miss a public art installation as you cruise through Red Bank.
The locations that you mentioned in our work session are quite high visibility, across from the Taco Bell, across from the Ace Hardware, across from Waffle House.
Uh-huh.
I'm using the colloquial
I know.
rather than the intersections that not everybody may be familiar with. I think the last one was Morrison Springs, right, is the busiest intersection. Well, Signal Mountain Boulevard and that Morrison Springs Dayton Boulevard are our 2 busiest intersections. So these are the highest visibility.
And they're intentional locations.
Yes. We'll look forward to kicking this off, I hope. All right. Any other?
I'll have to say, when I looked at it and saw that it wasn't in the budget, but when you've explained, it gives opportunities for other monies to come in. I'm okay, because it's another unbudgeted item. However, for the beautification and the use and the artistry that it brings to us, it's okay.
And again, having a portfolio,
Right.
where they start to finish and how successful they can implement a project, that's key.
Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. And I was actually going to comment on the fact that, in case you missed it in our work session, our CFO presented some 2024 fiscal year numbers, and we're looking to end up with almost a $519,000 surplus. So I'm definitely okay spending $5,200 of that toward public art in our city.
I would call this an expenditure towards one of our commission goals that was not anticipated. We actually were we had already formed that public art advisory board. We were already hoping for a recommendation like this, but we didn't know what the dollar amount would be in order to budget for it until now.
Right.
Our art is unique. It's not like going to the hardware store and buying a widget. It does become very unique in every application that we put out. So I look forward to additional proposals coming from the art board to make its way to you for a decision.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
So the designs are fantastic. How quickly will we see them out in the wild
If we approve it.
if we approve it? Which I think
If
is
approved,
likely.
I will reach out to our vendor who had the quote that we accepted and get it on their schedule, and hopefully we'll be able to give you an email to tell you when it's anticipated to be installed.
Very exciting.
It may be a committee question, but how did you come up with the bird thing? Yeah, okay.
I could address that.
Larry?
Thank you, Larry.
Mr. Miller?
Part of our discussion
Please come up,
was
Larry.
related to a very interesting.
Speech.
Thank you. A very interesting personality who resided in Red Bank, Emma Bell Miles. And her book is literally called Our Southern Birds. We thought, kind of in recognition of her contributions as an artist, plus just the fact that birds are cool, gave us that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll add one more layer to that Red Bank has years ago already been designated as a bird sanctuary as well. So there's some further historical basis for that theme in this case. All right.
And more recently, chickens.
Not maybe native to
More
America,
recently.
but certainly been here a long time. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll move.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Dalton. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner Wilkinson. Any further discussion? Any comments from the residents present?
Question.
Please give your name and address.
Ann Wheeler, 427 Antelope Trail. And this is not just for the art advisory board. Have any of the advisory boards discussed seeking donations for their recommendations as opposed to just requesting money from the budget?
I don't know the answer to that, Ms. Wheeler.
Okay, that, just throwing it out there, advisory board for all of them. They might like to take that into consideration.
Absolutely.
Well, Deputy Director or Director Johnson mentioned this will springboard into grant applications. I too had a question as to, this has been grant funded before we took it out. I don't know.
Well,
This is the
grants
direction.
end. Grant money ends, and at some point, the city then has to take over those expenditures. So it might be something to think about.
But it's awarded, and I would think in this case, it would be awarded to support that particular, at the moment.
Yes.
It's not ongoing.
Well,
but
that's what
that
I'm
time.
saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wheeler. Mr. Granum?
Thank you, Mayor. Regarding art on signal boxes, we actually have applied for grants several years in a row and weren't approved. And part of the reason is we didn't have a track record of success. So as Director Johnson mentioned, this kind of builds that track record. We have success builds on success. So I really consider this seed money. And the committees definitely know that there is a very finite amount of city resources to be brought to bear across this whole spectrum. Of the portfolio of committees that we've stood up, in that bubble chart that I like to refer to, it mentions cemetery, park trails and rec, festival, nonprofit and art. And there actually is a very strong body of evidence of obtaining other funds. The festival committee, for example, gets sponsorships from Food City and EPB and they bring in, at this point, tens of thousands of dollars for the past several Christmas and Jubilees. That's worth noting. The Cemetery Advisory Board, their currency has been sweat equity, which I don't want to diminish. They do more than just weed. They roll up their sleeves and pull weeds. Two of the members, one of them's right here, actually gave us a tree management plan, which I valued about $5,000, where they identified all of the trees in the cemetery and gave us a course of action. So I think there is a healthy history of being mindful of very limited municipal resources that we can bring to bear, especially financially, and leveraging the volunteer and broader community support for these nonprofit, for these citizen advisory boards. So I just want to assure everybody here, the staff and the volunteers are very aware of the precious and limited direct financial support that we can ask the city to provide. It's not really a stated goal, but it's definitely there.
Thank you. I don't recall the exact number, but when we have applied for the grants in the past, all the signal boxes were counted up, and it was somewhere between 11 and 14 signal boxes that I think we have throughout the city. If you recall.
16 comes to mind, but
16.
it's in the mid-teens.
Yeah, so 16, only 4 are being wrapped at this time. There's no reason that we shouldn't wrap the remaining 12. But considering, we're doing a $5,000, $5,200 allotment to wrap those 4 boxes, you can then multiply that out, what it might cost to wrap the remaining dozen. That's ripe opportunity for a grant. And now that hopefully this being approved, we'd have a track record, as Director Johnson has said, that will make our application for such a grant very strong. If anyone were able to get a grant such as that, we would be in a very good position for it. At the same time, I'll make a counter argument that beautification of the city has been named as a commission goal. Therefore, it is appropriate to spend taxpayer dollars to accomplish that goal. Taxpayer dollars are being spent on beautification in other realms throughout the city, from planting trees and bushes to mowing grass. There are many endeavors that the city carries out on a daily basis in order to aid in the beautification of the public realm that we all enjoy. And wrapping utility boxes or traffic control boxes with art is a step in that same direction of goal of beautification for public enjoyment as planting a new tree for a tree that got destroyed along the street, or putting trees along a new stretch of sidewalk that didn't exist before. These are all goals. These are concrete steps in the direction of that beautification goal. And it is, in my opinion, as one commissioner, appropriate to potentially spend public dollars on such an outcome. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
As a government entity, we do the things that we cannot do for ourselves alone.
Right.
Like hauling our trash alone. And the things we can't go out and wrap the boxes. So we give you an outlet for that to be done. And this is for all of the enjoyment of all of the people. I'll see no problem with it.
Not that I have any objection whatsoever to donations, and I think that's an absolute possibility.
If we want to do cookie candy sales at a bake sale, I'm all for it.
Any and all funding measures to include and not to exclude either public funds
except for car washes. I stand firm against car washes.
Public use of public funds and donations and grant funding, whatever the best combination is to accomplish and move our goals forward expediently at that time. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more comments from any residents present? Any further discussion? All right, if there's no more discussion, then we'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you to our Public Art Advisory Committee for their hard work. Next item of business, resolution number 24-1720. A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, authorizing the purchase of 5 Motorola APX 4500 enhanced in-car radios from Motorola Solutions for the total amount of $25,687.60 for the police department. Chief Seymour.
Good evening. This is of course, we recently ordered vehicles, and so this is to supply police radios for those vehicles. This is budgeted part of the debt services for this year. It's being purchased from Motorola based on state contracting pricing that's provided by the state of Tennessee.
All right, any questions for the chief? All right, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll move.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Dalton. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner Wilkinson. Any further discussion? Any comments from the residents present? If there's no more comments, we'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is Resolution 24-1721, a resolution by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, authorizing a contract with Dana Safety Supply, Inc., not to exceed the amount of $80,000 for the equipment and installation of emergency and other police equipment. Chief Seymour.
So this is part of, even though we've ordered those vehicles, this is part of the police equipment, emergency equipment, the cages, the lights and siren and all that goes into those, and the labor installing the in-car camera systems that's in there as well. So that covers the cost. This is part of debt services as well that was budgeted for this year, and it's also being purchased based on a state contract pricing.
Any questions for the chief? Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll move.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Dalton. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner Wilkinson. Any further discussion? Any comments from the residents present?
Is this all 5 cars, chief?
6 vehicles.
6, all right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mayor. We've got to turn there.
No, you're good. You're a resident.
Okay, well, I guess I am.
All right,
Well,
chief.
And I'll just clarify too, since Commissioner Phillips, of course, this is part of we had long discussions during the budget process about the vehicles, and these are for the 6 vehicles we purchased for this. It kind of covers for the next 2 years to get into that capital improvements program, rotation of that. So instead of buying 2 or 3 each year, the initial lasts for 2 years.
Thank you.
Thank you, chief. All right, any more comments? If there are no more comments, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is Resolution 24-1722, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, authorizing the City of Red Bank Public Works Department to enter into an agreement with Total Resource, Inc. for an amount not to exceed $18,000 for temporary laborer services and leave pickup for fiscal year 2025. Ms. Hackney.
Good evening. So the resolution before you is an agreement with Total Resource Staffing Services for seasonal temporary labor, one for services for our leaf pickup this fall. This is a budget item Director Tate prepared in order to ensure our solid waste department runs smoothly when leaf season begins.
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Phillips. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner Wilkinson. Any further discussion? Any comments from the residents present? If there are no more comments, we'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, resolution number 24-1723, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, to adopt a Parks and Recreation policy and procedure with respect to public spaces, bench and tree donation program for the benefit of the city, citizens, and residents to support recreation within the Red Bank Parks system. Speaking of donations, Ms. Hackney.
Thank you. I'm speaking on behalf of Jeffrey Gravy, our Parks and Rec manager. So this is basically guidelines to monetary donations to fund our city parks and recreation public space bench and tree program.
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Wilkinson. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey. Any further discussion?
I did have a comment from a resident. What if there's vandalism? Do we just simply replace it, take it as a loss, or? I'm
Well,
sure the material is quite durable to sustain, and we hope, once it's installed, it's respected
Yes.
and.
I believe that there's a mention of that in the policy
Okay.
itself.
Okay.
I don't recall the details, but I recall reading about that.
Okay.
Mr. Stoltz, oh, sorry.
It's not meant to be a memorial in perpetuity. They'll donate it, it becomes this property of the city of Red Bank, and then it will last for the normal life cycle of that item, a bench or a tree, and then when it is at the end of the life cycle, it'll just be replaced or disposed of, but there's no commitment to, in perpetuity, maintaining it as a memorial.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Stolz, does that cover what you wanted to talk? Okay. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay. If there are no more discussion, do we have any comments from the residents present? Okay. If there's no more comments, we'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next resolution is number 24-1724, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee to appropriate $50,000 between 8 applicants to the 2024 Red Bank Nonprofit Organizations Grant as recommended by the Red Bank Nonprofit Citizen Advisory Board, providing funds to support identified projects and goals in direct support to the citizens of Red Bank using allocated funds received through the Federal America Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA. Director Johnson.
Thank you. Again, during our work session, we did get a little deep into some history, so I think that's imperative. It's also identified in your resolution, some historical information that's led to this resolution tonight. Also attached to the resolution, you'll find more specific details on each of the 8 proposed recipients, to include a brief statement about the organization, its mission, and its intended objectives for the ARPA grant funding. Additionally attached to the resolution, you will find a draft memorandum of understanding, which is to be implemented with each grant recipient. This reflects their total scope of work to be performed, and more so, it's the expectations of the award to include audit compliance and final report detailing how the ARPA award funds were successfully utilized in direct support to Red Bank citizens.
Thank you, Director Johnson. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll move.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Dalton. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey. Any further discussion?
I think we have some other recipients here who were not
Yes.
here during our work
If
session.
you're representing one of the 8 nonprofit applicants, will you please stand? As Vice Mayor said in our work session, thank you all for the work that you have already been doing to support our residents in our community well prior to this time, before the pandemic even, and since.
Mayor, if I could, I'd just like to read the names of the 8 organizations.
Please.
I think it's imperative. Number 1 is Be the Change Youth Initiative. Number 2 is Downside Up. Number 3, Chambliss Center for Children. Number 4, the Learning Gardens at Red Bank Elementary. McCamey Animal Center, Northside Neighborhood House, Porch Incorporated, and Waterways.
Thank you, Director Johnson.
Vice Mayor, if I may, if they are able to stay, maybe we could take a second photo to combine with the first photos. that
Yeah,
we took
we've got some
from-
folks, we've got some new faces,
That would be great.
some switch outs.
I just wanted to add too that I'm very excited about this because these organizations can reach out and interact with the community in a way that the city as an entity can't. So,
Well,
yeah.
Agreed. With only less than 100 employees, we don't have anybody on staff who does what you all do. There are City of Chattanooga has entire departments for things that we don't even have one employee dedicated to. So we just don't have the bandwidth or the expertise to offer the kind of help to our residents that they need. And so that's why we have to rely on these nonprofit partners to do our best to make sure that our neediest residents are having their needs met.
It's a good leverage of dollars.
Yes.
Our residents will get a lot of
Mhm.
support for
Yeah.
every dollar we're spending
Mhm.
here. That thank you.
And we discussed this some at the time that we allocated the ARPA funds for this purpose, that having the buy-in of a municipality should hopefully give those nonprofits some leverage to secure other funds as well, to show that kind of, endorsement from a governmental entity is good for their nonprofit resume. So we hope that that can be helpful to them as well, beyond the limited dollars that we are able to share. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any comments from the residents present?
I think I have one. Can they reapply next year, or is it once and?
At this moment in time, there are no limitations.
Okay, got it.
I think depending on a robust second cycle of grant applications, we will obviously identify if they were a first-year recipient and how successful and what are they building upon. So I'm going to say nothing is excluded at this moment.
Okay.
Since they have those reporting requirements, then yeah, we'll see how the money was used.
Correct.
But you said it will be a new application process for each of the subsequent 2 years that we have 50,000 allocated for
Correct.
next year and 50,000 for the year after that
Correct.
remaining. Okay, any other comments? All right, if there are no more comments, then we'll go ahead and call a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, guys. Next, we have resolution number 24-1725, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, to adopt an electronic device and computer usage policy. Not as exciting as our last voting item, but we're still happy to have you, CIO Seymour.
Well, you gotta throw these in there. That's why it's probably last on the agenda. So we discussed, and this is just formalizing our computer usage policies and standard practices that we go by in an effort to, move forward with digitization. And as y'all know, we went through our personnel manual, employee manual, we revised. And so, as we do that, we're addressing additional policies that are contained in there. And so we'll, from time to time, be presenting these before the commission for approval, since it has to do with all city employees. Of course, it has to come before you for approval. So that's really that's what this has to do with, just computer usage and internet usage and really devices in city phones.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Wilkinson. Do I hear a second?
No.
We have a very creative second from Commissioner Phillips. Any further discussion? Any comments from the residents present? If there are no more comments, we'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We have now come to the time for citizen comments from Red Bank citizens for items not on tonight's agenda. Mr. Granum?
Thank you, Mayor. This is the time for citizen comments. Please observe these rules. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and the city recorder will operate a timer. Please respect her direction and conclude any comments if time expires. Comments should be addressed to the board as a whole and not to a particular commissioner, city staff, or the audience. The commission is here to listen, not to respond or engage in back and forth, so please do not expect a reply during public comment. At this time, citizens are invited to the podium. Please begin by stating your name and address.
All right, if there are no comments, then do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Phillips. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner Wilkinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Please stick around for another nonprofit photo.
Commissioners, I invite you to see this piece of hardware too. This is